So it was a pretty late finish last night. By the time we got out of here and we went and had a bite to eat, we didn't finish till 2:30 in the morning, so we had a little bit of a later start, and as soon as we got up, the plan was to try and find an alternator. AutoZone said that they had something that may have been the same, and we now know it wasn't the same, so we headed down to pick apart, and we perused their inventory. They had a fine selection of semi-dismantled and smashed vehicles, so we couldn't find an alternator that was even remotely similar. And we went to a couple of other wrecking yards, and we were lucky enough that Chris, you know, he's a mechanic, he's got contacts, which is how we met, and we just worked our way through electrical wholesalers and suppliers, and in the end I'm like, you know, isn't there someone in town who's smart, knows about wiring, and can check this thing out, and we ended up down at Motech. Yeah. And we ran into Mitch, and Mitch is the auto electrician down there, and of course he does a terrific job of transplanting and wiring these 6-litre and 6.2 engines in these Jeeps, these phenomenal builds that we were lucky enough for him to take us for a drive in. So we found an alternator which was off a...
It's off a Gen 5 engine, I believe a 2015 5.3, and the spacing was the same. It's just the mounting lug was different, so we had to we machined a spacer for that and hand it off to you.
Rick is machining up a bush just to reproduce this. At the moment we've got 2 mounting points on the base of the alternator, and it'd be great just to have that third one there just to stabilise it.
Our friends from down under.
Ricky, I love you. You've saved the day. Want to come around and help me fit it?
I don't know about that.
We'll put beer on.
Maybe, man. Maybe.
Thanks, brother.
Oh, yeah. You have a good one, okay?
Yeah, so we came back here all excited about the fact that we were going to have the answer to our problems, and anyhow, when we went to fit it, the depth and various parts of the alternator were different, so we had to re-drill the mounting brackets, which wasn't really a big issue. We went back down there and the guys did it for us straight away. They just had to drill and tap a 10mm into a plate, and we came back here eager to fire the car up, and we had no output from the alternator. And this is the PCM alternator, yes, which is supposed to be the simplest of all alternators. All you got to do is put power on it, and that's it. It does the rest. So we were like devastated. You know, we've taken off this alternator that we thought was dud. We've spent a day and a half trying to find a replacement, which we couldn't do. And you know, we spent today messing around getting it here, and we were fortunate enough that Chris is friends with Mitch, and Mitch said, well, I'm going to come around and have a look at your car. And when he got here...
Yeah, I looked at it, and first thing I did, I checked voltage at the alternator, and it said 1 volt on the alternator stud. So that made me kind of scratch my head, because that should be impossible because it's hooked directly to the battery. And once I saw that, I knew the problem wasn't so much with the alternator, it was some type of breakdown with the power wire to the battery. So it followed that wire back. It looked good, still pretty confused. And the next thing to look at was the disconnect switch. So we looked at the disconnect switch, and that was where the problem lied. For some reason, maybe the drive hit some bumps, something failed internally, but it wasn't connecting the main power together. So we basically bypassed the switch, and we checked the alternator again, and now we had the full 12.8 volts. We started it up, and thank God it started charging about 13.4 to 13.6 volts, which is my guess. Those newer alternators, they go into a safe mode if they're not sensing the correct signal. So it should have been fine, and once it got power and charging the battery, it was charging at what it should be. And it's a good alternator anyways. It's going to provide lots of power. I was very happy at this point, you know, when you're looking at a multimeter and it's saying, you know, 13.5, 13.6, I thought, you beauty, okay, that's that problem out of the way. So at that point we thought, well, let's jump in the car and take it for a drive. Drove great, still getting hot, even though it's not as hot as it was. Mm-hmm. So we can do one or two things. We can jump in the car tomorrow, head across the country and take our chances. At the moment we've got a 3-core radiator. It's got 2 spout fans that are supposed to pull 2,600 CFM each. Clearly there's something wrong there. They're not doing the job. So Mitch was telling us about these fans they've got, which are supposed to be the most powerful fan. Yeah. Basically a lot of the new fans have been upgraded to their brushless motor instead of a brush motor, and they make so much more power. They're much more efficient as well. So we use those, but the problem is they're controlled by a single signal wire. It's not controlled by just a power wire. Luckily, the Haltech is programmable, and I talked to Mitch at Haltech, and he said no problem. They can change the programming. So tomorrow we're going to attempt to put a 2016 Camaro SS fan in it, which is the most powerful fan we've ever seen.
I saw this thing on a bench today, and I saw it lying there, and I had to walk over and had a look. I thought, you know what, that is a fan to have. And it's ironic that Mitch mentioned it later that, you know what, we've got these fans at work that are just the best they've ever made. So, you know what, tomorrow morning, we would have liked to have got out of here early tomorrow morning. We're going to cruise around tonight and get some photos and check out the town, but I think it would be foolish to head off with a car full of people and loaded with the weather still the way it is. You know, in Australian speak, you know, we're still in the mid-40s here. So if we can nip this in the bud, we've still got time before drag week. So at 8 AM tomorrow morning, when these guys roll the shutters,
we'll see what we can do. It's a very reliable fan. There's no relays. It's just a power and ground to the battery and a signal wire. So clean things up. It's very powerful. The Haltech is one of the best controllers, so they control it flawlessly, and that's going to help tremendously.
So we're looking good. We're looking good. We've got our charging problem fixed. We've had to bypass the battery switch. You basically just bolted the power cables together for now, and over the next week we'll find a battery switch somewhere. And tomorrow morning we're going to put the most powerful fan, thermo fan ever made, on the front of this thing. And Mitch actually said if the motor stops, the fan will pull us down the highway.
Yeah, you don't need a turbo anymore. You can just listen to the fan whine instead of the turbo whine. You know?
Yeah.
So
there you go. We're sorted. We're looking good anyway. You know me, I'm always the eternal optimist.
That again?
40 beers, 2 pizzas, 3 hamburgers. Somebody check the switch.